Alright guys, happy Sunday. We'll get started here in just a few moments or so. I'm checking my settings, checking the stream. Tonight I'll be streaming from Windows 10 in my Dell. It appears that at least for the live streams, even though I have 3 computers, I have only one that is fully functional. And I'll get to that in a moment. Alright, so the stream looks good. This will be a Comments Corner live. This is where I comment on some of your comments. Random comments. I'm going to turn off my computer or my cell phone here, so we will not get any distractions for this evening. Where I live here, we have another snowstorm, so wherever you are, hope you are safe and sound. Alright, so YouTube is telling me the stream is excellent, and let's go and turn on the webcam. There we go. Welcome. I know many of you will catch this late. Sorry that I missed you. I didn't want to do this too late tonight because I have to shovel snow again. This will be the 3rd time for today. I don't mind the exercise, but yeah, enough is enough. Anyway, I had a I'm going to keep looking at the stream here to make sure we're okay, but I had scheduled today to record a free concert for you guys. One of my friends is one of the best musicians in the world, in my opinion, a stellar, excellent saxophonist. We were going to record a special event for you guys, not live, and it never happened. I got word from him that his father was in the hospital with COVID. So, yeah, it's been one of those days. So that was canceled. I believe that's our 2nd or 3rd cancellation, trying to get our schedules to match. But hopefully I'll get that done. It'll be free, and I'll let you guys know if you like good music. Anyway. Alright, so it looks like here we are good. The stream is excellent, as well it should be with this Dell with Windows 10. Alright, so last week, before we get to your comments, last week I did a stream Sunday night in Windows, and it was Windows 11 in my backup machine, not my main Dell. And it sputtered, and it's like, man, something's wrong. I did a couple of tests in both Windows and Linux, and both of the streams sputtered. As it turns out, I have 3 computers. I have 2 backup PCs. One computer originally had Windows 7, and then the second one originally had Windows 8. Now, even though both computers are in mint condition, they can both handle Windows and Linux perfectly. The processor in those machines, they cannot handle the streaming, the encoding, the power that's involved to run a successful stream in high def. Those 2 backup PCs just aren't powerful enough. Now, I could drop the settings, the resolution down to 720p or 480p and no camera, but that's no fun. So that's what's happening with me, why my stream last week sputtered. It wasn't because of Linux or Windows, it was because my backup computers, even though they're in good shape, they just can't handle live streaming, at least not in high def. So for tonight, I'm running my Dell with the Core i7, Windows 10, because the Ubuntu Mate, I still haven't fixed it yet. I will eventually, but I'm running Windows 10 with the stream here in my Dell Core i7, and the stream appears to be fine. Okay, I don't want to take the chance of running this with Ubuntu Mate because it might crash. I really haven't fixed it. I have it running, but it hasn't been really fixed, at least not yet. But that's what happened last Sunday night. So if you guys want to make fun of me crashing on the stream or buffering, feel free, but it was not the fault of Windows. It was the fault of my slower, outdated backup PCs. All right. So some of your comments for tonight. This is a Comments Corner Live. I posted a couple polls, and the latest Linux Mint has been released. I did install it in one of my backup computers, and it runs good. And one of the polls were, do you prefer Linux Mint or Ubuntu? A high percentage, a lot of you said Linux Mint, not Ubuntu. So the second poll was, well, why? Is it because of the desktop environment? And many of you would prefer that Ubuntu switch to the Plasma desktop. I think XFC was the second most popular choice. No, it was either that or Unity. I think Unity was the second most popular choice after Plasma. Interesting perspective. I miss Unity. I really enjoy it. I thought it was super stable and it was easy to use for beginners. I will still recommend anything that's stable, even Ubuntu, although the GNOME desktop is not my favorite desktop environment. But does Ubuntu work? It does. Is it stable? It is for me in my test, so I will always recommend something that is stable, even if it's not my favorite type of Linux-based system. Pardon me while I grab a drink of Gatorade. It's winter, the furnace, dry air, dry throat, and dry skin. Anyway, so getting back to Ubuntu, yes, it's my test proved that it's stable. So I will recommend Ubuntu. Why not? Even though it's not my favorite desktop environment. We did a Linux 18 Friday night, a private supported chat. I think we had talked about snaps. I don't understand the hatred towards snap packages. I don't go out of my way to install snaps. If the deb packages work, I stick with those. But sometimes they don't work and I don't feel like solving a puzzle. So I will download a snap, and for me they work almost all the time, or pretty much all the time. VLC and Linux Mint, I couldn't get some of the effects to work, like brightness or sharpness, and something else did not work with the standard deb package. I downloaded the VLC snap package, perfecto. So snap packages, especially for beginners who don't know how to solve problems, can be a lifesaver. Okay, let's go ahead and go to some of the comments. Again, I mentioned the two polls, the two comments before about many of you prefer Ubuntu, or I'm sorry, Linux Mint instead of Ubuntu, and you would like Ubuntu, the standard desktop environment, to switch either to the Plasma desktop or back to Unity. I don't see them going back to Unity. Can't say I see them switching to Plasma, but hey, it's Linux, right? So in Linux, anything is possible. All right, so let's go into some of your comments here. Again, these are just random comments. This is from last week. Why did you stop using Linux? Some of you have, some of you haven't, for a whole bunch of reasons. So this comment here, this first one is from Jeff. He says, I have used Linux for 22 years and never had a crash. Good. I have been called boring for using Debian stable. Well, anything stable is not boring because it's called sanity. See, Debian stable should be called Debian sanity, right? I have tried Ubuntu, he says, with Ubuntu Mate, but found it kind of buggy. I would never switch back to Windows. He says, you are right. Red wine is great. I agree. Red wine is great. No wine tonight because of the dry air. Of course, wine has alcohol. That can dry my throat. So for tonight, it's Gatorade. If somebody from Gatorade wants to sponsor a live show, I love your products, especially the orange. So cheers. Next comment. I still use Linux at times. This is from C28D. Hi. I still use Linux at times, but I gave it up as my daily driver. I need specific Windows-only programs that have no viable Linux native alternatives, and none of them can run on Linux. Fair enough. I know there's a lot of people out there in the population who would like to use Linux, but they can't because they need specific software that's only usable in Windows, and I totally understand that. It doesn't mean that Linux is no good. It's just that they can't use Linux for a specific reason. Okay, what else do we have here? Edmundo Studios says gaming and app availability. Also, the quality of Linux apps is usually worse than Windows or Mac due to limited development time spent for Linux apps. I don't know if the quality of the apps are usually worse, but I think it's a hit and miss. I think Snap packages have made the apps better in terms of reliability. All right, drivers can be a hit or miss in my experience also, he says. I would have to agree. I have a GTX 570. It looks like a one machine which doesn't use any of the proprietary drivers on Ubuntu, so I lose a lot of performance compared to Windows. Drivers can be a hit and miss in Linux. Multimedia still struggles in Linux. Can be a struggling experience compared to Windows. But for gaming and graphics drivers, yeah, I understand why it can be a struggle. This is from Shadow 7. He says, Linux still annoys me the least. I don't do anything under Windows. I did that once like 20 years ago. Wow. And my spam instantly became active and went to hyperdrive. Okay. Telemetry has its obvious downside. Well, the whole web is telemetry. So I can't really blame that on any specific system because the entire web is one big telemetry suction machine. I wish it wasn't, but it is what it is. Ramsey says, I stopped using Linux because I stopped having faith that it would be able to daily drive daily drive for my purposes. Okay, if it doesn't work, don't use it. Linux has great potential, as Chromebooks have proven. Linux works for me 90+% of the time. So I haven't stopped having faith in Linux, but that's because I pick only specific Linux distributions I think will give me the least amount of headaches. But anyway, I can certainly understand if you tried it and it doesn't work out for you. All right, let's see what else we have here. I think those were the main comments that I needed to get to as far as Linux and Windows. So yeah, next Sunday night, I think, hopefully we'll do a Linux 18. We talked about this Friday night. We'll probably do a Linux 18 next Sunday night. We'll talk about a global standard Linux desktop. A couple of years ago, this is before a year or two before the pandemic started, Linus Torvalds, who was considered the father of Linux, I call him godfather of Linux. He's the godfather of Linux, show some respect. But anyway, during an interview, he stated that the reason why the Linux desktop failed was that because of fragmentation, and I think he said he was annoyed by the process, by the whole thing, and he had more faith in Chromebooks. And I thought that was a provocative statement. There was almost nothing from the Linux community about that. There was silence. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I think we'll use that part of the interview as a guide, as a reference point for next Sunday night's Linux 18 show, because I think it needs something that needs to be discussed, and just to try and stick with the facts when it comes to Linux and Windows. I will never stop using Linux. I've gotten very comfortable with it over the years that I've been using it since 2006, and I don't see myself dumping Linux. So far, Windows 10 for me in this Dell, I haven't had the update issues as other people have. Windows 11 in my 2 backup machine, I've done 2 full installs. Amazing performance. I'm really surprised. But one of these days, something will happen to Windows 11, and it'll be time for a joke or two. That day is coming, just not today. So that's where we are in terms of what's happening with me, what's happening with my machines, and the whole world of Linux and Windows. If you have considered using Windows 11, well, maybe you should. If you have a backup machine, you should absolutely install Windows 11 and see what happens. Run it as a dual boot if you have a backup machine. Run Windows 11 and maybe a Zorn or a Linux Mint, a Peppermint or Ubuntu, and you tell me what the performance is between those 2 operating systems. But Windows 11 has been a very pleasant surprise in both of my backup PCs. For my Dell here, I need to figure out what to do. I have several options on my Ubuntu Mate. I can keep it the way it is and just keep booting into the recovery mode. There's a couple extra steps. It's not that bad, but there's a couple of extra steps, and I could keep doing that either until April when the next Ubuntu Mate is released and do a full upgrade, and maybe that'll solve the issue. I cannot use Ubuntu Mate for streaming and just do the Windows. I can delete Ubuntu Mate and install something else. Or like I said, just keep doing this for now for Windows for the live stream, since I have full functionality. Because the Core 7 i7 processor in this one is perfectly fine for both Linux and Windows. And like I said, I think what happened in Ubuntu Mate, I don't think it has anything to do with the processor or anything like that. So if you have issues with Linux booting into Linux, when you get to the boot screen, you should be able to drop down to the recovery mode or recovery process, something like that. That may solve the problem for you, at least temporarily. At least it does for me. Unless you can boot into your system and go from there. And if you have to retrieve any documents or folders, and then reinstall the system or do what you want to do. But there is a nice drop-down menu. I would imagine in most Linux-based systems where if you can't boot into the system, go into the recovery mode or choose a different kernel, and maybe that may solve the problem. I tried the different kernel and that didn't work, but the recovery mode option worked for me. I'm not sure what's going on there, but at least I can get into it, so it's not a total loss. But I think for the live streams, until I get that fixed, at least on the non-podcast streams, I'll have to use Windows 10. When I do the podcast streams, I don't need a webcam. I can lower the settings on the podcast streams, down to non-HD settings and do the podcast stream that way, because there's less stress on the processor. I hope that makes sense for all the newbies out there who wanted to try live streaming and don't know what to do, or if their computer can handle it. Look for something with the Core i7 or Ryzen 5 or above, and you should be perfectly fine with Linux and in Windows for live streaming. Just keep in mind when you're live streaming, there is a lot more stress on the computer. It needs more power. Or as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, I need more power. And that's what I need, is more power. Anyway. All right, another drink of Gatorade. All right, so I need to shovel snow. All right, how shall we end this? Because I need to shovel snow for the third time. I'm not in the mood. So let's, why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and, I recorded I edited a very brief Linux A-Team from Friday night. It was a news nonsense. Let's go ahead and play that. And then we'll end the stream. I know there's I'm sure I'm not the only one caught in the snowstorm, so I'm sure a lot of you guys have things to do tonight, like shovel snow, or else your wife's going to kill you. I'm not married, but that's besides the point. Anyway, so let me cut off my mic here, and let's go ahead and listen to briefly about 7 minutes or so from Friday night's Linux A-Team News and Nonsense. Just for fun. Okay, that's what the news and nonsense is all about. So let me go ahead and cue it up here. Let's have some fun for the last 7 or 8 minutes or so. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another news and nonsense. We are using Skype. This is called Together Mode. It's free. Check it out. Why not? I have my returning champions. I have Ron here. I have Dan. I have Anselm, who's stuck out west in the snowstorm in Wisconsin. No, but Anselm, get a webcam for the next one, okay? We'll put you in the captain's chair on the ship. Just get it, Chief. That's all you need, This way we can see you, put you in the chair,
Pressure.
Because it looks like you got damage in the transporter malfunction here, or whatever. Okay.
Okay.
All right. News and nonsense. This is just random news topics we do just for fun. They're not usually Linux-based usually, but this is just for fun, okay? All right, here we go. This is from the Auto Blog. A TV reporter finishes live report after getting hit by a pickup. Ooh. This was covered on the NBC News website. A 25-year-old reporter, Tori Yorgi from West Virginia. Well, no wonder. It's West Virginia. They can't drive. Just kidding. But she got hit by a Chevrolet Avalanche. Ouch. Those are not little trucks, by the way. Anyway, to make a long story short, she got back up. She continued with her newscast, and she said she's okay. I guess the truck slipped on the ice or snow because we had nasty weather here. But she's okay. But I guess the moral of the story is, guys, if you try to pick up a girl, don't use the pickup. She's okay. She's okay. Or else I wouldn't do the story. Okay. This is about a Japanese guy, man, Shoji Morimoto. His job, he's been hired 30,000 times to do nothing.
Oh.
The headline says...
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
What is it, a science experiment?
Let me get through. This is very interesting. From hearing murder confessions to posing for photos, this Japanese man was hired to do nothing 30,000 times. He has a following of over 270,000 followers. Anyway, I guess in 2018 he was unemployed. He had an idea. He offered his services to do nothing, just to accompany him to eat, drink, and give simple responses. He says these were very easy tasks, according to him. He charges $96 per hire, which is really nothing nowadays. But he has been contracted for serious tasks, from accompanying a divorce claimant to listening to a murderer's confession, but also lighter work. Morimoto says he simply just listens but doesn't do much more. Yeah, that's probably the smart thing to do. After graduating with a physics degree from Osaka University, anyway, I won't read the whole thing, but he was out of work, and he literally gets hired to do nothing. Some of his tasks he will not do, like clean house. Well, hell, I don't want to do that either.
Who wants to do that?
Yeah, and other things. But he says, I don't really, respond much. I will be polite, but I basically just get paid to be your companion, to do nothing. This sounds outrageous, but nowadays with people being lonely because of the pandemic, just want someone. That doesn't sound too crazy now. Because I guess I'm assuming he's a nice guy. He dresses well. He's clean. You can trust him. I'm just saying, what do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, if it works, great. Yeah, hell yeah.
Hey, it's a job, so okay.
Good side gig.
I don't know. I think I got him beat. I can go almost a full week and not talk to a single person.
Okay. Well, let's see, $96 a day for the week, but he says he does a lot of these. So, okay, all right. Well,
if we're going on the premises of doing nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine getting.
Well, plus.
He gets paid for doing that. Well, he should be a congressman then. No, but
yeah, I know, right?
But
well, especially a guy with a physics degree.
Wow, I'm glad he put his degree to good use. There you go.
Right.
It's the physics of doing nothing. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, good for, what was his name, Shoji or something like that. Okay. Here, this comes out of Missouri State. An alert system. That they test every day, whatever. And anyway, I'm assuming it's what. Yeah. That you get on your phone. But an alert system mistake warns Missouri residents that the Joker is on the loose.
That sounds like a hack.
The Missouri State Highway Patrol is reassuring the public, is this for real, that the Batman villain Joker is not on the loose. After a staff member sent out an emergency alert on mobile devices. Missouri hell, I've made jokes too about different states, right? Missouri residents received alerts from the Highway Patrol Tuesday, warning citizens of Gotham City to be on the lookout for. Okay, I'm not going to read the most of it, but anyway, they had to explain why. Look, with all the stress that's been going on, it's good to have some fun. Well, looks like people in Missouri are drinking too much wine. Anyway, all right. Well, let's see. Let me jump into the chat here real quick, then we'll wrap it up. Joe is in the house. Salute, my friends. Cheers. Mark is in the house. Fluffy loud. The how Joe says, did you decide on your next PC? Probably something with the Ryzen 5, I think. Yeah. Mark says, do I really need to shovel snow? Yeah, because if I don't, there'll be like a foot of snow in the morning, and it'll be too heavy, and it'll be too much to handle, to say the least. So I have to shovel it. Yeah, I don't want to, but I'm going to see if it stopped and do some of it now. That way in the morning I'll probably have to shovel again. It won't be as bad. Anyway. All right. That's it for the comments for tonight in the chat. All right, so be safe out there if you're shoveling snow. Remember, shovel with your legs, not with your back, bending over, according to my chiropractor. So always be careful out there. Geezer Geek says, I don't always catch you live. Always good to see all of you too. Yeah, so I'm going to go. What's the name of that country song? Take this snow and shovel it, or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's a different title, but that's how I feel when I shovel snow. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for sticking around for 11 years for this channel. Thank you for your contributions. If you would like to sponsor or contribute to the live shows, check out the links below in the show notes. And yeah, be safe out there if you are stuck in the snowstorm like I am. Take care.